Okay, it is time for another MRS podcast. That's my old friends from college, Maiden, Rob, and Sparky. I believe this is podcast number 4. It has been a couple weeks since I made the last podcast. So on the last podcast, I did get some messages back from my friends from college, and one of them was Maiden, and he said that it makes perfect sense to him that the plane would only attack the Pentagon coming in on that side wall instead of coming down on the roof line. And that's because when you go into a nosedive, you lose control of, wings don't work anymore. And I don't think, in fact, that's not the argument being presented by the conspiracy theorists here, Maiden. The issue is why wouldn't he come in and just basically gradually land the plane down across the roof of the Pentagon? Treat the Pentagon, the roof of the Pentagon, like a landing strip or a runway. So that's kind of the argument there. And then the other thing is we went over how in the last episode how the CIA was implanted in, and they had people contributing to American journals and the AP and UPI, and they wouldn't admit that stuff in the free open to the public session of the congressional hearing, but they wanted to bring that into executive session, which basically means hell yeah we are, but we're not going to admit it here to the public. And I think you guys all pretty much were on board with that. I think you guys all agreed that yeah the CIA is probably being, because I didn't hear any arguments. Normally you guys defend the beast, and I didn't hear any defense of the beast on this last podcast. So I'm just going to play one more little segment here. This is Sid Mickelson. He was the president of CBS News, I guess, from 54 to 61. So as far back as 1954, the CIA was already in the U.S. news.
An executive session.
At CBS, we had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole news and public affairs operation in 1954, ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
We have.
So there's that clip, and then here he is telling some more things about this. I'll play this.
Decided. I think it was entirely in order for our correspondents at that time to make use of CIA agent chiefs of station and other members of the executive staff of CIA as sources of information which were useful in their assessments of world conditions.
Would you say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Well, I can tell you today, you read an article or a headline or a fact check or any of that crap, you almost never hear who's saying this and who's it coming from. It's maybe if you're a talking head like Brian Williams, you got to be a little bit more concerned about. But I think the public has no idea who's writing this crap. But we're going to go back and we're going to play this one. Now this one's 6 minutes, and I'm going to pause from time to time and give you my commentary on this. And then when we're all done, just send me back a message and let me know, yeah, I watched it. And yeah, it does seem like, Bill O'Reilly did give this conspiracy theorist a fair treatment on the show, or no, he didn't. Let me know what you think. So I'm going to play this, but I will be pausing it from time to time to give you my input on this as well.
Impact segment tonight, as we told you last night, University of Wisconsin instructor Kevin Barrett has called President Bush a murderer, saying he orchestrated 9/11 without providing a shred of evidence of that charge. Despite that defamation, Barrett teaching a course on Islam this semester at the University of Wisconsin. The only sanction against him is an order to stop making public statements.
Okay, so right there you can see the only sanction that the University of Wisconsin has given this radical instructor. They don't just put instructor, University of Wisconsin. Radical I love the use of the word radical, because now they're using it against the conservatives. Although I think they've changed it now. It's extremists, the extremists. Okay, so they want the University of Wisconsin to deplatform this guy and not let him talk to even a small group of students. And that's what that was about. And they want all the universities to clean up and do that also. That's why it's on national news. But he also says that Barrett doesn't have a shred of evidence. I've seen the claims made by Barrett. He's got claims. He's got evidence. But, of course, Bill O'Reilly, who is probably a CIA asset, is telling you they don't have a shred of evidence. Well, of course, and you're not going to hear it on Fox News. I'm not going to allow you to see any of the evidence made by the conspiracy theorists about this event. So we'll keep playing.
Joining us now from Madison is James Fetzer, a recent retired professor from the University of Minnesota Duluth who supports Barrett. You know, I'm getting a little tired of Barrett and Ward Churchill and other college professors who hate their country and who bring this hatred onto a campus full of impressionable students. Am I wrong to be offended and angry about that, sir?
Okay, so he comes up with this allegation that you hate your country. Where the hell does he get that? They've labeled him a radical. He's telling, I mean, it's just lie after lie after lie coming out of Bill O'Reilly's mouth, and he will not, watch, we'll just play this through, he will not let Jim Fetzer say a damn thing. Watch.
Well, you are wrong, Bill, because you haven't studied the case. We've created an organization consisting of experts and scholars, pilots, aeronautical engineers, mechanical engineers, structural engineers, civil engineers, physicists. We've been examining what the government's been telling us, and frankly, Bill, it's a fantasy. None of the major claims made by the government can be sustained. We've been looking at this from every point of view. The government has a story it wants to sell us. We're not buying it.
Okay, you don't have to buy anything. You're American. You want to be a nut, you can be a nut. And you are.
There's more name calling. You want to be see anybody who believes in these crazy conspiracy theorists is a nut. You see how they do this shit? And this works with the masses. I don't know how it works, but it works.
Are a nut, because in order for any conspiracy of this magnitude to take place, thousands of Americans would have to buy into it, would have to know about it, and would have to keep their mouth shut about it. That's never going to happen. You're like the guys who think that the space aliens kidnapped Elvis or something like that. That's where you are.
See what he does? He brings up little green men. They always do this. Anytime there's a conspiracy theorist, they'll bring up a tinfoil hat. They always bring up little green men from Mars. They always do the same. It's like a playbook with these CIA dickheads. That's what they do, and this is how they operate. And unfortunately, the mindless masses can't see through this. It works. We'll keep playing it.
My opinion. So your opinion is that Bush murdered everybody on 9/11 to seize control and make him the dictator of America, whatever the crazy thing it is. And my opinion is you're nuts. We're both entitled to our opinion, okay? So you're entitled and I'm entitled. And we'll let the folks decide.
Okay, just pause right here. How many words do you think Bill O'Reilly has spoken versus Jim Fetzer? We're almost 2 minutes into this, and how many words has Bill O'Reilly been allowed to say? And Fetzer said one sentence? Let's go.
Hold it. But now you have a guy, Barrett, who's in a classroom. And we had the students on last night. And believe me, the students don't know very much. And here's Barrett.
Okay, so here we go. Students aren't capable of learning anything. They're not capable of making up their own minds, looking at evidence, and coming to their own conclusions. They're so dumb that we need to police who's allowed to present any ideas to students. Listen to this shit. It's unbelievable.
Here's Ward Churchill, and they're bringing their crazy theories in, explaining this, that, and the other thing.
Crazy theories. See, there you go. It's a crazy theory, right? And, he comes back, and I will step back one little piece of this. Let's go back where he says 1,000 people had been involved in the day after September 10th. I doubt you needed 1,000. I doubt you needed that many people on board with this. You needed some. I would put that number in the dozens for sure. But 1,000, that's really, I don't know. I'm not really buying that. But again, I'm going to bring you back to 1930s Germany. How many people knew? Did 1,000 people know? You're going to murder 6 million people? You got to have some manpower to make that happen. That's a lot of people that have to know, and they're staying quiet. And I don't even think they were staying. They're probably telling some people out on Main Street, hey, this is going on. And of course, it's so outlandish that most people wouldn't believe him anyway. But number one, and first and foremost, it's not in the mainstream press. They didn't have it in the newspapers. It wasn't being talked about on the radios. And that's how you control the whole damn thing. And this is TV news. This is what they do.
And whatever conclusions you guys have reached. And the students are there absorbing this. And I'm saying this is grossly irresponsible because it's based on nothing. If you had any evidence, sir.
Oh, it's based on nothing. And then he goes on to talk about how if you had any evidence, you'd get this on the front page of the New York Times. The Bush hate media. Oh, come on, man. This is how they divide and conquer. They've had the country divided and conquered. Republicans and Democrats, a two-party system forever. I mean, they've had this shit in 1950s. You just heard Sid Mickelson say we were using the CIA back in 1954 when I took over. They were embedded in CBS News. All right, let's keep going.
You would be on the front page of the New York Times in a heartbeat. There's nothing that the hate Bush media would like more than get a hold of anything you have. And you don't have anything. You can't get in the San Francisco Chronicle or the National Enquirer or anywhere because you don't have anything other than a harebrained theory. And you know.
Harebrained theory. See how they do this, and this shit works on the mindless masses. It just works. Let's keep going.
We have hundreds of studies. We have documents. We have records.
Well, why can't you get on the front page of the New York Times?
Bill.
See, as soon as he starts bringing up his evidence, Bill interrupts him and says, why can't you get it on the front page of the New York Times? Well, you guys just brought him on here to discredit him and make him look stupid. That's clearly obvious. That's what the whole purpose of this was. Anybody who believes in those crazy, whacked out day after September 10th conspiracy theories is a nut. Don't listen to him. That's what this was all about.
Anyone, Bill, who has even looked at the collapse of Building 7 understands it came down by controlled demolition. It wasn't hit by any plane. I had guys
in here who say you're full of you know what. Why can't you get this on the front page of the Boston Globe or the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, papers that despise the Bush administration? Why can't you get it on the front page of those papers?
The press and the media are too much dominated by the federal government and federal regulations, Bill. You know that.
Sure. The New York Times is dominated and afraid of the federal government when every single day they rip Bush's throat out. Come on, that doesn't make any sense.
In 1977, Carl Bernstein published an article in the Rolling Stone in which he explained that he'd been told by officials of the CIA that their greatest successes had been with CBS, with Time Life, and with the New York Times, Bill. The situation today is much worse. Anyone who wants to know the truth should go to st911.org, our website, Scholars for 9/11 Truth, and they'll find it in spades, Bill.
I hope they go to your dopey website.
Your dopey website. See how this works? And, you know, it's, again, he just keeps hammering. Why don't you put it on the front page of the New York Times? Why don't you get this on the front page of the Minneapolis newspaper? Because they're all controlled, Bill. Every fucking one of them. Every single one of them are somehow in on this. And we don't know how it works, but all you have to do is look at the evidence of election fraud from 2020. You won't find CBS, you won't find New York Times. I don't think anybody's ever written an article about boxes of ballots being pulled out from underneath the table in Atlanta. If you guys debunk me on that. I bet you we've never seen one article from or any news clips from any mainstream news coverage station talking about those boxes of ballots that were brought out from under the table in Atlanta. This shit is controlled as controlled can be. But that's how they. It just I can't believe the masses fell for this crap. Let's keep going.
And I hope they read your stuff. So I just want to. This is how crazy you guys are, and you guys are really. Number one, you hate your country, and
number one, you hate your country, and number two, you're crazy.
Number two, you're a loon. Here's your scenario. The Bush administration are murderers. The president's a murderer, okay? He killed 3,000 Americans because he wanted to increase his power and suspend all civil liberties. And in order to do that, he co-opted a whole bunch of intelligence people and military people. They all got in a little conspiracy. They killed 3,000 Americans.
A little conspiracy. See how this works? It's just little wordplay, dropping these little sound bites out there. He's very well trained at what he does. I hate the son of a bitch.
And the press is covering it up because they're afraid of the federal government. Come on. I mean, why don't you just say that you have a Martian living in your bedroom, sir?
See, he goes back to those CIA talking points. You got Martians, right? There we go again. It's the same arguments over and over. The press won't report it. Martians, you're crazy and you hate your country.
Why don't you just say that and parade a puppet out or something?
We found the government account is provably false on every major respect.
Yeah.
You appear to be among those who can't handle the truth, Bill.
No, I know.
You got to look at our findings. We've conducted objective scientific studies. We have no funding. We have no money. We're doing this because we believe in our country. And as a former Marine Corps officer, Bill, I resent your implication. We're interested in the truth and not being deceived.
You hate your country.
Everything the American government.
Look, you hate.
There he goes again with you hate your country. It's the same talking points for 6 minutes with this bastard.
Your
Our
country,
truth seekers.
you're accusing a man of murder, the president of the United States, of murder without any evidence. If you had the evidence, somebody somewhere would take the evidence. Why don't you bring the evidence over to France? Why don't you give it to the French media or the Canadian media or the CBC or BBC? Are they controlled by the American federal government? Are they afraid? Why don't you take it there? See what they'll do with it, huh?
Bill, you're obviously not going to give me a chance to talk about any of these things.
No, I'm not, because you're a
go to
nut.
our website, ST.
All right, we heard your website.
If you want the truth,
fine.
Scholars for 9/11
You can't get any legitimate news organization in the world to put your stuff anywhere because it's all bogus. And I don't care whether
Including Bill O'Reilly and including Fox News, because they're not letting him talk. They brought him onto this show to make him look like a loon. Call him names and make sure nobody else will listen to him. That's what the purpose of this entire interview was all about.
you're a Marine officer.
Bill.
You're disgracing the Marine Corps by what you're doing. You hate your country. You accuse a man of a murder, of being a murderer, President Bush. And you know, if I were Bush, I'd take a look at you, Professor. I'd definitely
Now he wants to put anybody who thinks that the day after September 10th was an inside job, he wants to put them on a government terrorist watch list. Son of a bitch.
take a look at you, just like Sammy Al-Arian. I'd put the FBI on you and the Nutty Barrett and find out what the hell you guys are up to, bottom line. Thanks for being
We
here.
care enough about
Yeah, I know, you
our fellow
care.
citizens who died, Bill
You're
Riley,
a
to find
loon.
out why they died and how they died, which is
You
more
have
than the government has done.
you have disgraced those people by accusing the president of being a murderer. Plenty more
Scholars
ahead as the
tonight.
factor moves along this evening.
Yeah, so Bill O'Reilly is just a piece of human shit. I hate his guts. All right, so anyway, that's it for today. That video I'm already in a bad mood because of something a customer did, a couple of them, and probably not the best time to record a podcast for you guys, but I wanted to get this over with. I've been trying to do it for 2 weeks. We keep getting early baseball games, and I just get drunk and eat pizza and watch baseball every day and bet on games. So anyway, that's it for today. I've gone almost 17 minutes. Just message me back. Let me know what you think. Did Bill O'Reilly and Fox News give my side equal and fair time? Were they fair to Jim Fetzer in that interview? See ya.